Every time you buy a phone or a car or even just a coffee from a big global chain, you're tapping into this hidden world of just immense complexity. And I'm talking about corporate tax. It's this giant global puzzle with trillions of dollars on the line. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the amazing new technology that's being built to actually solve it. I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. You've got one company, right, with one single mission, but it has to act like a local expert in dozens of different countries, all at the same time. How on earth do you follow the tax code in Germany and Japan and Brazil when the rules don't just differ, but sometimes they flat out contradict each other? Well, that is the core challenge we are digging into. The best way to picture this problem is as a maze. But this isn't just any maze. It's one that's constantly changing, where a single wrong turn could literally lead to massive fines. So businesses don't just have to navigate it. They have to do it perfectly, every single time. This slide really gets to the heart of the tension. On one side, you have the company, and it's trying to move as this one unified machine. But on the other side, you've got the world itself, a total patchwork of conflicting rules and financial systems, all pulling that same company in 100 different directions at once. So what makes this maze so incredibly difficult? Well, for starters, every country is its own unique jurisdiction. Then you have to layer on all the different currencies and the laws that are constantly changing. And then, get this, the bizarre reality that a single asset, like say a piece of software, can be valued and taxed completely differently in Germany than it is in Japan. It is a true logistical nightmare.
But, where there's a complex maze, human ingenuity eventually comes along and builds a map. And here in the 21st century, that map is built with technology. So let's take a look at how it charts a path right through all that complexity.
And this is the core mission right here. The goal isn't just to manage the complexity anymore. No, it's about using technology to fundamentally transform the entire process, to move from just playing defense to actually playing offense. Now, to see how this all works in the real world, we're going to focus on one specific tool that really embodies this shift. It's a platform designed to be a kind of master key for global tax, and it's called the Global Deferred Tax Calculator.
All right, so this tool's first big job is to tackle one of the absolute trickiest concepts in corporate finance, deferred tax. Now, I know it sounds super intimidating, but watch how the tech makes the logic behind it perfectly crystal clear.
Okay, here's the crucial point. The way a company reports its finances to its shareholders is often different from how it reports them to the tax authorities. Deferred tax is simply the result of those timing differences. The easiest way to think of it is like an IOU, either from the company to the tax office, or sometimes, believe it or not, the other way around. And this is where the tech completely changes the game. A process that used to take accountants days of agonizing manual spreadsheet work is now boiled down to 4 simple steps. You just input the 2 different values for an asset, the tool instantly finds the difference, it applies the correct tax rate, and bam, it immediately tells you if it's a future tax asset or a liability. It's automation at its absolute best.
But here's the thing that makes this so much more than just a calculator: transparency. This is not a black box. With a single click, an auditor can see every single formula used to get that final number. And that simple feature, it's a total game changer for audits, for training new people, and just for building trust in the numbers themselves.
And the scope here is just massive. We are not just talking about big physical things like factories or equipment. No, this tool tracks everything, right down to intangible brand patents, super complex financial products, and even a company's past losses. The whole goal is to create one single source of truth for every single item that has tax implications.
Okay, but we all know tax rules aren't always black and white, right? So what happens when the law is a bit ambiguous? Well, the next frontier for this kind of technology is navigating those exact gray areas.
And this brings us to something called an uncertain tax position, or a UTP. Really, the best way to think of it is as a calculated risk. It's when a company takes a stance on a tax issue that it believes is correct, but it does so with the full knowledge that the tax authorities might disagree and maybe even launch a challenge. So how does a company even decide if it can account for potential savings from one of these positions? Well, it all comes down to this simple but absolutely critical threshold, known as the more likely than not test. If the finance team believes they have more than a 50% chance of winning their argument with the authorities, even just 51%, they can recognize the tax benefit. If it's 50% or less, Nope, it stays off the books. It's a very clear line in the sand for a very gray area.
So, what the technology does is turn all this uncertainty into a clear, simple dashboard. This allows a company to monitor every single one of its UTPs in real time. With just a quick glance, they know which positions are open, which ones are actively under audit, and which have been escalated to the appeals process. It basically becomes a live command center for managing tax risk. And look, this whole process can take years to play out. So, what the tool does is track the entire life cycle of that risk. It logs the position the moment it's taken, it automatically calculates any potential interest and penalties that might build up over time, and it follows it all the way through to its final settlement. What you get is a perfect, unbroken audit trail from start to finish. And this really brings us to the ultimate goal of all of this. Technology like this elevates the tax department's entire purpose. They get to move beyond the reactive chore of just compliance, filling out forms and bracing for audits. They actually become a proactive, strategic part of the business, using clean, real-time data to help make smarter financial decisions. So once technology automates all the really complex calculations and basically maps the maze for us, it frees up the human experts to think bigger. They can finally stop being data crunchers and start being real strategists. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question, doesn't it? When the machines handle the how, where does human ingenuity go next?